who would you say was the biggest band of all time?
Well, they're not the biggest band of all time, but they're big.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, for me, the Beatles probably, ultimately.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Queen and that were amazing.
Amazing, yeah. I liked them.
Yeah, the Beatles, I think they're still #1 bestseller worldwide.
Yeah, because it's a never-ending sort of thing. You know what I mean? You know, it's like, I think they got so popular. There's a reversion of copyright after 50 years. I think they've had to change the laws to make it 75 years because the Beatles are still popular.
Did Michael Jackson have the rights to their songs or
He
something?
had the publishing rights. Yeah.
Yeah, because that must have been worth hundreds.
I met Michael Jackson.
Did you?
Yeah, I did meet him. Yeah.
Where?
I met him twice. The first time was in 1992. It's before the paedophile shit, and because he came, I think he was outed as a paedophile initially, but 93, 94, and I just signed to Sony with Creation, and they said, "Oh, come to Japan to meet everybody." And I flew to Japan. I had a week in Japan. At the end of it, Michael Jackson had been doing 8 nights at the Tokyo Dome, right? And Bobby was in town. I think Bobby was playing a show, and Bobby wanted to go, and I didn't want to go. And they went, Gillespie's not coming, right? But we'll have McGee, only because they thought I was more sane. Foolishly, right?
Fuck, were they wrong?
Right. And then we went through all the security, and we get taken in, and then we put in this room of like people wanting to meet Michael Jackson. I was the only person in the room that didn't want to meet Michael Jackson, and Sony were picking 5 people to meet Michael Jackson, and I went, Alan McGee, Creation Records, and I went through. I mean, he's really tall, Michael Jackson, and it was like a photo opportunity, and they never sent me the photo, right? And you had to announce yourself to Michael Jackson, and when I get nervous, I get really Scottish, right? And I went, "Oh, McGee, Creation Records," and I'm like, Michael Jackson's looking at you, fucking freak. And I met him that time, and then just for a photo. And then the next time I met him was about 96, and I was getting on Concorde, and there was a guy, a really high up British Airways kind of guy, went, "Are you with Michael?" And it was just something early January 97, I think it was. And we went, "Yeah, we're just taking the piss, me and my pal." And we went on up the back, and this is when I kind of knew he was a paedophile, though, right? There was Michael Jackson. There was 4 security, 2 or 3 security, I think. A manager guy, I think, or a tour manager guy, Michael Jackson, and about a 14 or a 15-year-old guy dressed as Michael Jackson on Concorde. And I was like, that's fucking weird. Do you know what I mean? Because who travels with one of their fans dressed up as them? And you had to go at that point, that's not right. Do you know what I mean?
It's not right. I think there's never any smoke without fire.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Do you know what I mean?
Point, I've always sort of known he's not right.
Well, in the back of your mind, but then you look at guys like Jimmy Savile, who they've just got a question mark. You just look at them, they've got a question mark, but they were loved. And it's hard because he's never had a conviction, Michael Jackson, and he's not here to fight his case. So it's difficult. But
it's interesting, all the stuff that's just
it's all the stuff there, but there isn't any smoke without fire. But for me, I think he was young himself, and apparently he was castrated. They basically took his balls away so they could keep his. This is the stories that are going about, so they could keep his voice so young.
Is that right?
So he never really fully matured. I think it's such a touchy subject that it's so mixed. But again, that industry is rife with it, and it's sad to think that because he was the biggest artist out of them all.
Yeah.
He was the biggest entertainer.
All I know, James, is I actually met him a couple of times. The second time I met him, he was a 15-year-old, 14-year-old boy dressed.
Yeah, how was he when you met him? Was it weird then?
We didn't really say anything to him. We just kind of looked at us and we looked at him. Do you know what I mean? But we were just thinking, me and my pal Ed Ball, we were just thinking, fucking weird guy, man. I mean, who would fly about with a 14, 15-year-old version?
It's the fact
maybe a guy that was into that would, but I mean, weird. But we were like, that's too weird.
But it's a bit blatant and it's a bit out there.
Well, he was in. I think it was in the Sun. I think it was something like the Mirror of the Sun. The day, like Michael Jackson with. They didn't even say he was with a young boy. It was just like it was going through the airport at Heathrow. I think we landed. You know?
Yeah, it's a touchy subject. It's hard to think, but again, it's just one of those fucking things that people are are kind of mad in that industry, that people do go kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
Was there anybody you've met a lot of A-listers in your time?
Yeah.
Was there anybody you were starstruck with or really want to meet?
Yeah, one time I was in the dressing room, the only time ever really that I have been starstruck, if you want to call it that. I didn't know what to say. It was in Glasgow again. It was in the SEC, and a teenage fan club supporting Neil Young. And Neil Young came in the dressing room for about 10 seconds and walked out, and I was like, another time I was in Glasgow, I was at what's that wee posh gaff? Is it what's that hotel up in the West End?
Oh, One Devonshire Gardens.
One Devonshire Gardens. I was staying there, right? And James Brown had been playing the SEC the night before, and I walked into the room, and it was an empty room. It was a posh version of this room, and sitting there was James Brown, like up in the chair. And I was like, and I thought, and I just walked out because I didn't know what to say. What do you say to James Brown?
That's another living legend, James
I know.
Brown.
I've been there a couple of times. I've went, I'm not doing this. Do you know what I mean?
He's not.
But usually I'm okay. Usually I'm just like, how you doing?